he's really made a show of it. I mean, he really has. He's claimed the spotlight in multiple occasions. Awkward has looked great Kodak has looked great since coming in for Awkward as well. So those two guys for sure. I mean, this tank line for Snakes has really come together. Everything about this team has looked solid throughout this tournament.
And we'll see, actually open things up here on CIS Hope. Kenzie on the Widowmaker, and this is something we've seen a lot out of them coming into this matchup, even when they were up against Awkward instead of Kodak. As already, it is going to be a 1-for-1 trade. Asking does find main as well, so both Zenyatas, they're not going to be online for this particular fight, as the point did get uncapped. Tariq alongside Jaldo on the point. They're going to look to push their the opposition away and get a hold of it as soon as possible.
Already getting control of it. CIS Hope contesting the point. Heiko forced off. Christopher has already been forced off. And now they're going to look to re-engage with Asking in a position now to try to find some picks. They do see the Lucio coming around that corner, but they are finding a couple of kills. Main did go down, but they still have the advantage here.
And it's very interesting to see how CIS Hope once again is going for that 2-1-3 composition instead, compared to their opponents of 2-2 here. For Snakes, Nesh still on that fair. Hasn't find quite as much success as you would look for, but now as Asking does find that kill onto Kenzie, that might be enough to open up the point, especially since Nesh is in the backline. However, Aang finds Asking too.
We're gonna see them stall out the fight for so long before they actually get, you know, a real contest going. Barrage ready for Snakes now, but he's just kind of prodding and poking at the side of the point right now. Nowhere is his team at the moment in comparison to where he's at. They finally jump in here onto the point. Zhao still has his options, but they're not gonna want to expend them at all. They're gonna want to hold on to them as it will be flipped for Snakes. But coming back into this next fight, they are gonna have that Graviton. It's gonna be up to Kodak to make sure that he doesn't get picked off before that, you know, that actually goes down.
Definitely doesn't want to get that Transcendence forced out early. And I think another curious thing about Snakes is Christopher really not favoring that Reinhardt as much as some of the other teams, even on different maps going for that Orisa most of the time. But now, as we will see, the rest of CIS will look to converge up to the point. It's going to be the Graviton coming out. Asking though, finds main, and Kenzie retaliates with a kill onto that Widowmaker. Self-destruct was launched. Kill still favoring the red-hand side of Snakes as Nesh picks up a triple for the fight. Will push the rest of CIS away, and with the ult advantage now being building up once more for Snakes, CIS Hope was gonna run into potentially quite a bit of trouble.
Nash is having a field day. Barrage ready for him, and actually a swap just to try to deal with him. Unfixed, moving over to the McCree. So now they have 2 hit scan to try to take Nesh out of this fight. And we'll have to see if that has any impact. Already Nesh has taken out Zhao's mech, and they lost Zhao completely and kind of stuck in this building on the side here where Kenzie and Unfixed both are at. Sharek charging back in now.
Oh, but Kenzie does find Nesh. Kodak still bloodthirsty on that support. Nesh will be brought back up. Cave having that resurrect. What does it mean? It will not be an option here if any of their tanks do decide to play aggressive. But again, it's 70% already for Snakes in return, and we will have to see CIS Hope just open up with a pick, and considering Asking found all the picks for his team, a big one onto main at that, it's looking very dire for CIS right now.
We'll have to see if they can find their way back in. It's going to have to be off the back of a massive Earth Shatter or a pick from Kenzie. We don't get the pick from Kenzie. Unfixed falls as he overextends into the enemy backline. Gets taken down by the Diva. Heiko is there to peel him off. Shark at 11 HP will get ripped down as well. Shirley through overtime here after main dies off after the Transcendence goes down. They will take it, and Snakes already taking the lead here once again.
And even though, yes, we did see both Nesh and Asking perform exceptionally well in those DPS roles, I gotta say, Kodak has been just lighting up on that kill feed on that Zenyatta, and now as they did manage to flip the point and keep a hold of it all throughout, 0 to 100. CIS Hope down 1 point on Lijiang. This is, however, gonna be a part of Lijiang on Gardens, where they even ran that triple DPS yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, this is the exact same map pool that we saw them running in their first match against each other in round 1. You know, the Lijiang Tower into Nimbani, Hanamura, Dorado, Ilios. It's the same exact map pool. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out this time, especially considering the last time we saw them play each other on Lijiang Tower, it was a 2-0 in favor of CIS Hope, and already Snakes have found an answer, and they looked quite dominant, I would say, after they got their first take.
And we'll see mirror comps right now for both of these teams, of course, on those double DPS roles. Kenzie still looking to contest Asking with those Widowmaker duels. However, it's going to be Kodak, the first one to fall, and with a potential sideline opening up for Kenzie, as Kodak is not going to be able to find those right clicks for now until he gets back up, contesting onto the point. CIS Hope, though, looking to push their advantage.
Well, they lost both of their tanks, so it's not going to be a situation where they're going to be able to push in. You know, doubtful that they are able to get themselves in a situation where they could create enough space for their tanks to come in once they are back up. And now that they are coming back up off of respawn, we'll have to see what kind of play they want to make to go for a kind of soft dive here, try to create some space, get Kenzie back in, or sorry, get Asking into position where he can take Kenzie on once more. But they've lost Kodak now. Kenzie is on the side, taking kill after kill after kill. And we've seen Asking match up against a lot of different Widows, and this is one of the first times I would say that he's really kind of struggled in this matchup.
And of course, also considering the fact that you have Unfixed on CIS being one of the more consistent Pharahs throughout the last few months now, maybe a little bit less performing in terms of the Pit Season 3 in particular, in terms of what you would expect out of him. But now we'll have Christopher go on to the point cave, popping that Valk. We'll look to keep them safe, but again, it's not been too much found here for Snakes. It's been mostly all about CIS Hope.
Well, they're hanging on, using those ultimates, trying to turn this fight, trying to get the point back in their favor as Christopher dodging skillfully away from Unfixed. And it's going to be Kenzie coming back around the corner. They've now lost both of their supports. CIS Hope likely to lose this point very soon as Chao gets back into his mech. He will be taken just as quickly back out. And now it's just going to come down to Sharik, who's struggling to stay alive himself. That will be the flip, and we'll have to see now, can CIS Hope get control back from Snakes, or will it be once again a situation where Snakes will never let go of this point?
They've been extremely good when it comes to making sure they hold that defensive position. We'll have ultimate advantage on top, so should have the tools in their kit. However, of course, when you're up against CIS Hope, you never want to play too. You can never really be too cautious, especially with Kenzie picking up Kodak again.
Well, Christopher gonna reset before he re-engages. Likely gonna go for the hard dive on this one, diving right into the back line. Oh, does find Kenzie there as well, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to keep him alive as he gets rotated back into everyone. They've already cleaned up the rest. Nesh really coming alive in that fight there, and look at this, it's already up to 44% for Snakes. This could very well be the same thing we saw in Night Market.
And the scary thing for CIS Hope is the fact that last time, as you said, they did take this one 2-0. They were very dominant and controlled. It was one of their stronger maps in this matchup. As Christopher does get spotted out, forced to disengage Unfixed on the prowl, does notice a sneaking Winston off on the side. It's gonna be Kenzie finding Asking again, and this is the type of play you really want to see out of CIS Hope if they are to bring this one to a third map.
Oh, here we go, Unfixed on the top. Taking some pressure immediately. Look at this, the barrage comes out from Nesh. Doesn't find a kill just yet, but still the rest of his team is playing so well around him. They've only lost the mech from Heiko. Yes, they're taking some damage, but everything seems to have been answered. However, now CIS Hope does find not only the mech, but also the kill onto the Mercy. Now they have that slight advantage once they come back into this one. Heiko drops out as well. Sharik trying to bat them away from the point, trying to get control once again as Unfixed comes into the point. They do find the flip. Now 83% versus 99. Snakes have one opportunity to get this back in their hands.
And the problem right now is the fact that Kenzie is on the Tracer too. Should potentially be able to contest the likes of Asking, who will make the swap himself. So will be an interesting glimpse on that particular matchup. As so far, it is a 1-for-1 Kodak finding Kenzie in the background.
Oh.
The rest is not going to be there. It gets punished by Unfixed, who picks up a double, and CIS Hope looking to bring us to a third point.
somehow he snuck out the kill onto the Tracer as well. Ness trying to get some off with himself as well, but not going to be able to get that same value that we saw out of Unfixed. Still hanging on here as we see the Transcendence come through. Overtime ticking now as it's going to be Kave on the Lucio. They get the flip. Oh, somehow Kenzie makes it to the point and no one else is really around after they kill Unfixed. And it will be Snakes stealing the point, taking the fight, and taking the map.
And already up 1-0 in the map where we favored their opponents in CIS Hope. Snakes looking to find their way back into the grand finals, find a rematch themselves against Seagull Gaming, picking up the lead already.
And as we look forward onto Nimbani, you know, looking back, this is where Snakes was able to turn things a little bit for themselves. They, you know, struggled a little bit against CIS Hope again on Lijiang Tower, but, you know, on that map there, onto our hybrid map, that's where I expect Snakes to, you know, be able to have that similar performance. However, CIS Hope is a different team now. And I'm not saying, you know, they changed their roster or anything like that. I mean, literally the same players have adjusted their playstyle so dramatically to what we saw from them in the past that, you know, we've seen some of the same stuff come out, you know, the 4-0-2, stuff of that nature. But we've also seen a lot of 2-2-2. We've also seen the triple DPS defense as well. So a lot, I think, of surprises still yet to come in this matchup. Do not go anywhere because when we come back, it will be with Nimbani.
And CIS Hope are down 1-0, somewhat struggling on Lijiang.
Yeah, absolutely struggling. You could absolutely say that. I think the one glimmer of hope for them was the fact that Kenzie is still having a good performance. I mean, you know, still we're seeing Nesh, I think, with one of the better performance, I think, so far of this tournament as well. I mean, on the Pharah, he was able to do so much on Night Market, really kind of gave them a massive advantage. And then some of those fights, they were able to turn those back around simply because of the fact that he was on the Pharah. I mean, even Asking, who has been lights out throughout this tournament, was kind of shut down a few times by Kenzie. So that battle is still going to ensue. I think, you know, we're still going to be seeing more of that to come. Asking versus Kenzie in a lot of these scenarios where it's going to be Widow versus Widow if that does come out. But I think it really comes down to Unfixed versus Nesh as actually one of the more pivotal battles, because between those two, it'll be, I think that will help determine who wins the ground war and, you know, everything to come as well.
And the big problem and surprising thing about CIS Hope was the fact that in terms of those 2-2-2 setups, even the last time where they went up in the series, they seem to struggle up against Snakes, and I was expecting them to play perhaps that quad tank composition. We saw how effective Eagle Gaming can really be up against Snakes as they dealt their loss yesterday.
Right.
And now that CIS Hope still sticks to the 2-2-2, we'll see what they can do on Numbani, because last time around, when we had on the defensive side Snakes, they managed to go ahead and make the full hold happen. So now it's going to be on the offense to start it all off. Snakes looking to open up the point. Nesh and Asking once more on that double DPS setup.
Just wasn't the CIS Hope that we're used to seeing at all. I mean, you know, you're expecting a team that's going to be at least able to contest every single team, but they really fell apart on Numbani for sure, and it really gave some momentum to Snakes to realize, hey, we can easily take this matchup, and that's exactly what they did. They took it 3-2. However, as we start things off here, Snakes getting that crucial first pick, make it 2 though, that gets Rez back up, but Asking answering the call, as now there are no supports at all on the board for Snakes. This will be easy cleanup for Snakes, and it will be 1 minute already off the clock, but they've taken the first cap already.
I mean, Asking, just within the, you know, the casual pentakill or the first team fight, it's just things that Asking does, because that's apparently what his performance has been throughout the whole tournament. Just lights out. The MVP for his team will be taken out, however, this time a little too overconfident, perhaps, as Unfixed strikes back with a kill finally. And with the double DPS setup of Snakes now going down, they will look to regroup, and maybe they bit off a little more than they could chew, but already looking extraordinary on Numbani.
Oh, we see the pulse bomb go out. That shouldn't find anything. Dragon Strike to acquire space as Snakes coming back out of their spawn, looking to push CIS Hope out, but CIS Hope look very well nested into this position, and they don't want to go anywhere.
And this is gonna just stall things out for that much longer. However, with that Hanzo still claiming kill after kill, finds the second onto, and will be Zhao falling as well. Only main left around that point, as Sharik will fall to Nesh. And even though, yes, they do stall things out further, CIS Hope unable to find any kills in the end meant that Snakes are well in good time to secure themselves that second objective and potentially another map win on Numbani.
Remember that pivotal fight, Nesh versus Unfixed. Have to watch out for this one, as Asking and Kenzie are going to take each other on. That should go back and forth. Both of those guys are fierce competitors, but Nesh versus Unfixed on the Pharahs, incredibly integral to how these team fights are going to actually play out as a whole. Kenzie sneaking his way into the backline though, as the Tranquility comes out, the Transcendence from the Zenyatta main comes forward. That's going to go down. It's going to be Kodak coming in second.
Oh, and like you said, Unfixed in that matchup does manage to take down his counterpart in Nesh. Dragonstar did come through. It's not going to find a kill. However, Kodak will find one himself, as we'll see him fall eventually to Zhao. Still member advantage ever so slightly in favor of the defensive side, but now with the Primal Rage coming out, we'll see mains fall, and these frontline members of Snakes potentially buying enough time for the rest of the team to regroup and get that second point. Oh, Sharik falls, manages to barely buy enough time for Zhao to get there, but we'll see Snakes win another prolonged team fight.
Well, you talk about buying time, and that's what they did there. And now as they come back into this one, now as they look to defend, they need to make a stop here. Kenzie has gone over to the Widow. He's going to be able to pressure both Asking and Nesh with this character, and look for Sharik and Zhao to both create space for him as he plays from a back corner. More than likely, you won't see him flanking just yet until he has a little bit more of time to set up. Asking though on the payload, they're going to put Christopher into position already, and goes down.
Sharika's gonna fall really low on top. It's gonna be so much damage from the opposition. Nesh still coming out on top with that Pharah. Kodak finds another, and it just seems like CIS Hope are again struggling on Umbani.
We'll see the Dragon Strike ready for asking. I mean, he's just going to be able to wait this one out, and as they come into the point, because they have to contest now, he'll be able to throw them off a bit. They don't have the Diva at all, so he could put it out very early on. They already take out Kenzie and falls again. Kodak comes through to try to keep the Dream alive for them, and I mean, the Dream is definitely alive because they're going to easily take this fight, and it's going to be quick and easy. Snakes complete the map, and CIS Hope looks completely disconnected again.
It's just been so surprising because, as we said, they looked better and better throughout that losers bracket, and yesterday even looked as good as we pretty much wanted to see out of CIS Hope coming into the third season of Pit, and now that they're struggling yet again on Numbani, I just don't know what's up with them. They're just, yes, Kenzie still finding picks, still managing to be a factor for this team. It's not going to be enough. You still need the rest of them to come together as a unit, and it's just not been happening so far.
And as we look to see what kind of attack we're going to get out of CIS Hope, we've seen a couple of different things from them in these types of situations. I mean, we've seen 2-2-2, we've seen 4-0-2 as well, where we see, some different looks from Kenzie, unfixed. Looks like he's going to bring out a Winston here. So we might very well see that similar style to what we saw yesterday with those, that two-pronged attack. You have the dive going up top, pushing them down to the low ground, where Shark and Kenzie are both going to be, trying to get control of the point. They have tons of healing. They have tons of mobility as well. Speed boost coming out from N on the Lucio. Main going to be able to provide a lot of that power healing, that group healing as they cluster back up. It's just going to come down to how well can Unfixed and Xiao execute a soft dive onto the high ground. And what I mean by that is their ability to just jump up, push them off the high ground, try to isolate someone off of it, and then fall. They don't want to stick up there for too long unless they get an advantage. It's going to be hard for them to get that, especially against, Asking, Heiko, Kodak, and Kave, who are likely to be up there. Christopher, who can respond as well. But someone's going to have to fall to that low ground. They want to isolate as many people as possible, so soft dive is the best way to do it.
And it's interesting to see for Snakes, Christopher not on that Orisa. He has picked it time and time again, especially looking at how successful they were with it on defense for Numbani. We'll look, of course, to keep in mind how they're going to perform with this Winston instead. Already onto the point, CIS Hope will look for this early picks potentially, or at the very least force their opponents off of high ground. Just look to contest instead, as so far it's going to be close to one tick, but Asking already finding that first pick. We'll look for the D-suit. One tick on the board, however, for CIS Hope, but now that they're backed off into that room, it should be Snakes with a team fight win.
Yeah, when we saw them go for their soft dive, I think it was a little bit late, personally. They're going to leave 2 players behind, or actually 3-4 players behind. The only people they lost were their soft dive. Losing Unfixed and Xiao, they're going to try to hang on here, and Snakes is just going to leave them. They're not going to go for the 6v4. They don't want to leave their backline exposed, so now coming back into it, we will see CIS Hope re-engaging, and there's that engage right off the bat. This time it's going to work out.
Ooh, the pulse bomb does find its mark. However, Nesh needs to find even more if they are to hold on to this point. Xiao getting a double kill for himself, just been having the best of time on that Diva, coming into that second fight, and with those final few kills, they'll be able to start pushing this payload through. 5 minutes left on their timer for themselves, and a lot in terms of those ultimates too. And now we will have a slight adaptation coming out of Snakes with Nesh on that Pharah, and this should look better overall in terms of how they will be able to deal with CIS Hope.
It's really going to come down to Xiao, I think, on this Diva to try to mitigate some of that pressure coming out of Nesh. We saw, the ability for a Diva to mitigate a Pharah already, and we know that it's possible. We know that a Diva is capable of doing that, but it really comes down to personal ability, the mechanical ability, the game knowledge as well. Can Xiao fill that gap for his team, as well as peel for his backline and protect Unfixed in some of these dives?
So far, we'll have 5 ultimates at the ready for Snakes. I mean, talk about having all the tools in your kit, as on the other side, Kenzie will make an adaptation himself. So on that McCree, we'll look to contest both Nesh as well as the rest, but it's going to be asking, fighting the kill, launching the self-destruct as well as the Dragon Strike. Will be Snakes looking for more, asking, getting that double. And it's just been CIS Hope not quite getting the support, making sure that players like Nesh, like Asking, are shut down.
When they lose Kenzie, and they've lost him twice at the beginning of a fight, you know, just he's been completely shut down. When they lose him, they don't have anyone to deal with Nesh anymore. And, you know, I already mentioned how pivotal it can be to deal with the Pharah in this matchup and how important it's going to be going forward. If they don't have Kenzie to do that, you know, it makes the job so much harder for Zhao, and it's very tough for them to win these team fights.
When Kenzie in big danger was forced to use that recall just to make sure he stays alive. Coalescence used by main as well, but again, it's just going to be Christopher popping that Primal Rage and looking to push them away. Unfix now on that Zarya will at the very least have an easier time when it comes to keeping the rest of his team safe. However, Nesh is going to pop that barrage. He will not be too successful. In the meantime, Kenzie does find that target onto Asking.
Well, Christopher was struggling to stay alive. There was so much pressure on him. Even through the Transcendence from Kodak, he wasn't getting his health back. So Nesh pops that barrage, actually, in order to help peel for Christopher. He gets back up to full health, and now they can sustain the fight. Now they can look to re-engage and take more time off the clock, especially as Asking pulls out the Dragon Strike, finds 2 kills, one onto Chao, the other onto N, and now once again, they're forced back. So that barrage, yes, it didn't find as many kills as they were looking for, but what it did do is provide time for Kodak to heal Christopher up inside of that Transcendence because they couldn't put the pressure on any longer.
Now, if you're CIS, what are you going to do? Are you going to wait this one out? Make sure Unfix has a Graviton for the potential combo with Kenzie, because so far, they've just been unable to find those angles and those kills to really push their advantage in. Heiko, we've seen how hungry can really be for those ults yesterday. Now look to have that Coalescence be the opener here. Takes out Nesh. Main gotta find that kill. And now CIS Hope will have the number advantage. We'll see whether or not they can keep it over. Shatter also used.
Oh, they might be able to do this here. Kenzie popping off a little bit. Shark under pressure, though, as the Dragon Strike comes out from Asking. Forces him off to the side a little bit. Kenzie still is around, looking for Asking. Asking will turn around and find that kill. And once again, Snakes look to be winning this fight here. And now it's down to 135 on the clock for CIS Hope. They could very well be shut down for a second time on Doombody by the Snakes.
And Kenzie now will make another swap onto the Widowmaker, but is it too late at this point? Because it's 1 minute and 20 seconds left. He could open up the point and maybe throw a Graviton and capitalize off of that, but the combo potential is not going to be there any longer. Tracer was around 60% for Kenzie in terms of that pulse bomb. Will not be an option now, as still Christopher is in the backline with Nesh.
They need to make sure that they get that barrier out before they throw it down, because if Christopher can actually get it off, and there's no way he's going to be able to, they're still going to find that kill. So they start off with an advantage, 6v5 now, as they'd only claimed 1, but they've lost their Widow now.
Oh man, they really don't like Asking, as he did get killed off in this side at a Graviton. Now still fighting on the point. It's gonna be both of these tanks for Snakes pushing the opposition away. Zhao will die as he did use that self-destruct, and now with the Rocket Rush back up, it will force the rest of CIS Hope back off around the corner, and with the member advantage still in favor of Snakes, they're gonna look to hold this one out again.
And once again, Asking is back. He's at 97% towards his next ult. They kill off Nesh, so this is a point for them to re-engage, but not going to last for too long, as Kov's going to be able to bring him back up. Asking, pulling back, holding onto that Dragon Strike. They cannot lose him here. Double Sniper now out as Unfix swaps over to the Hanzo himself. They have 3 seconds to make it to the point. They'll make it. Shark should be able to get there.
And he is there, but it's gonna be Asking fighting to kill the Dragon Strike to come out too. It's gonna drop that one solo. Sharik though manages to stay alive, but it's still gonna be Snakes coming out with the kills time and time again. Only Zhao left onto the point. Maybe they can get back in. Never mind the headshots, the dings, and the win for Snakes.
Man, what a play there from Asking. I mean, they came together so well. They were playing so fluidly. We saw so many cool things coming out, the way that they were protecting each other as well. You know, those 900 IQ plays where we saw the barrage come out from Nesh. Yes, it was an aggressive one, but it had a secondary benefit. And I already mentioned it a little bit, but I want to bring it up one more time because of how important it was to that play. We saw the Transcendence come out to keep Christopher alive, Christopher wasn't getting the healing necessary. They're still finding the pressure inside of the Transcendence. So what they needed to do to regain momentum is put some pressure out themselves. They weren't getting it done without the barrage. Throw out the barrage, and then all of a sudden, they can't just go full offensive. They have to pull back. They have to throw out some defensive abilities. They have to, use some of their mobility to get away a little bit, to get away from that barrage. So it gives spacing to Christopher, allows him to get his full reset. They re-engage, they win the fight. They're able to take more time off the clock there.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's already match point for Snakes. CIS Hope, potentially one map away of going out. But coming up next, it will be that assault. Don't go anywhere. And we are back once more into the losers bracket finals, and already looking really good for Snakes. Now moving on to Hanamura. What's your take on it?
I don't know. I mean, so far, CIS Hope has looked phenomenal on this map. I mean, we go back to, their past history. We look at even their matchup, in the first week, round one, where they took on, or rather day one, where they took on this team, where they took on Snakes. They were able to take that one. Ever since then, they've looked phenomenal on Hanamura. This has really been their go-to map, especially when they need to, now turn the tides of this entire series.
And the one interesting talking point for Hanamura in particular was the fact that up against Snakes, CIS Hope did bring out the Mei on Unfix for that first point and almost made it work. They pushed it all the way through in overtime, and they still won in the end with a 2-1 score. So now, as you said, moving on to this map once more, I do want to see them bring this one back. This is where they need to start the reverse sweep dream happen, and so far not looking likely.
And they need to figure out a way to deal with Asking. I mean, Nesh has had a really good go of it so far as well, but Asking has been a constant threat. Kenzie, really is their answer to a lot of things. And right now, he just isn't you know, he's not finding the way in. He's not figuring out how to deal with asking in this matchup where it is, you know, a one-on-one situation. A lot of the times where asking is dueling it out, you know, Widow versus Widow, or Kenzie's trying to work his way into the back line on the Tracer. He's been denied, I mean, almost wholly throughout this entire series. So if they're going to find a way in, they have to be a little bit more creative here. If they want to go up 1-1, they're going to need to either step up in a big way, or they're going to need to remove that from the equation and then take it from a different angle. You know, go to that maybe, because that did, you know, that did work to some degree for them the last time. However, it's going to be a question, I think, of if Snakes is actually going to be thinking, hey, that might be coming out or not. I doubt that they're going to want to use it, especially with the stakes as high as they are right now. Maybe if it goes into, you know, some more rounds later on, but I doubt it for this first round.
We'll find out soon enough as the match is ready to go. It will be CIS Hope on defense. Started all out, and it's actually a full-on dive coming out of Snakes, and something that we haven't seen too much of.
Yeah, I mean, dive comes out occasionally. You know, typically you see it on a map like Anubis, you know, when you want to contest the high ground, when you expect the double sniper. But it might actually work out for them here because, as we see, CIS Hope is actually running that double sniper. They're up on top of the plat here. There's no way for Shark to fall back. It's going to come down to Chao's ability to mitigate some of the pressure long enough for In to be able to get some healing off. But if they dive on top of that Mercy, that could really open things up for them.
But Kenzie, if he keeps up this performance, already finding 2 kills for his team, almost at the ready with the infra side. We do have Asking on the side, looking for those potential targets, still sneaking his way in, slithering, if you will. And now going on to the point, also Christopher off to the side. But with a split-up team, they just can't find those backline targets.
Yeah, so they really need to just jump onto the point. They're going to pull them back, and that's going to open up a major opportunity to go for a soft dive onto Sharak, push him off of that. They're going to go ahead and engage right now, and it's actually onto Kenzie as he's forced back. Again, they're going for a soft dive. They don't want to full engage here. They want to just pull onto the point and force that Widow off of his position. De-nest him a little bit, but still, Christopher going down is not good news for Snakes.
Especially since it's going to be also Nesh dropping soon enough, main supported by the rest of his team. Made quick work of him, and now, once more, even though we do have the Resurrect coming in for Christopher, things are not looking too hot for Snakes, but especially since Kenzie and Unfix, both of these snipers still popping off. Pulse Bomb not quite fighting that AoE damage, as did get nerfed relatively recently. He's not going to be able to push that one through. Nesh does have that blade soon enough, so with it, we might see a potential opening. However, main having that answer in the Transcendence still gonna be tough.
That's what we were mentioning. You know, if they want to take this on a, you know, like a 1-to-1, go straight up with the 2-2-2 once again and try to just take them on, they really need to step up. And that's exactly what we're seeing. CIS Hope has stepped up in such a big way. And one guy in particular, Kenzie, who has just been popping off on the Widow, going back to his roots a little bit with what CIS Hope has been able to get off. But there's In falling very quickly. We talked already about what happens with the Mercy going down, and there's the blade to follow. Nesh comes through, looking for more. We'll be able to help take Chao out of his mech, and soon main will go down as well. Snakes have unlocked this first objective.
Took them a while, but he definitely get it through. Second tick on the board, soon enough the third. And on the other side, the problem for CIS Hope is that they also committed the Transcendence. They stalled it out a little bit, but they won't have that ultimate going into this next fight. And we'll see a couple of changes coming out of the attacking side too. Nesh on the Widowmaker, the Pulse Bomb is going to come through. Asking, not quite finding his mark though.
Still sticking to that double sniper, still trying to deal with Asking. I mean, Nesh has swapped over to the Widowmaker though to take him head on. Kenzie versus Nesh. Let's see how that plays out as Christopher actually takes Nesh out of his position, open things up for Nesh, or takes Kenzie out of position to open things up for Nesh as the rest of CIS Hope is finding kill after kill after kill. It's just Nesh left, and he's going to be taken down. Kodak likely to follow as well as they put the pressure there. And 4.5 minutes now for CIS Hope. They have been halted, so no hope for a straight momentum push and just brass knuckling their way onto the point.
And then now we will actually have Snakes commit for that double sniper themselves, even on the attacking side. Unfixed, still holding on to that Dragon Strike, wasn't forced to really use it, or didn't really have an opportunity to do so as of yet. Now it's still Nesh looking for those sides, looking for those angles, finds one onto Kenzie, and with infra side at the ready, he might just build up that space for the rest of his team.
Well, they've pushed main back a little bit too. He's now in the stairwell. He's scared to go up. They're gonna go forward. Dragon Strike comes out from Unfix to try to ward them off. He finds a kill onto Nesh. And in the meantime, they lost their tank. Luckily for them, though, they're still finding kills. This is certainly good news, as now they just need someone to come in to contest the point. And as they just go back and forth, just kind of kiting away from Christopher, they'll easily be able to make this defense and not lose any tick progress in the in that duration. However, looking forward, what do we got to look at here?
We have a bunch of ultimates, of course, still on both hand sides. My main person that I want to look out for is going to be Kodak with that Transcendence. But just like you said, it's going to take CIS Hope really stepping it up in a big way. And I want to highlight the fact that also Unfix has been stepping up on Hunter more, especially on the second point defense. If he can keep up that performance, most definitely going to make things difficult for the opposition. But Nesh again fighting those picks, getting the best out of Kenzie.
Oh, I think that actually did get eaten up. Chow heard that and easily just threw out the defense matrix. So no Dragon Strike out for them. Unfix has one of his own, though. Although I don't know if he's going to have to use it just yet. They are going to be able to easily find the kill, not only onto Nesh, but also onto Kave. So after losing their Mercy, it's just a matter of time before they do lose out. They are expending ultimates in the process, though, as Christopher pops the Primal Rage. They're still sticking into this one. They're still finding kills. Snakes actually found a way into this point to be able to sustain without the support of their Mercy at all.
But it's been stalled out all throughout, and no ticks were achieved as a result. Now we'll see Heiko drop pretty low, still in that baby diva form, trying desperately to get the mech back up. It's gonna be Kodak finding the kill in the end and coming back in on that Ana with a Bionade will connect. However, it's not gonna amount to anything as 2 ticks already on the board here for the attacking side of Snakes, looking to secure this one with the use of that Transcendence. Kodak still left alive. Self-destruct will be popped. Zhao will go down as Nesh does find that kill, still uncontested. Nobody on the point, only Anne and Main finally making their way through. But again, it's all about Snakes as they get kill after kill. Anne will go down. Nobody in that, or rather on the point. And with 1 minute and 35 seconds left, we'll see Snakes get that second objective too.
I actually kind of like that combo that they put together at the very end. I mean, I don't know how much they, rehearsed that or whatever, but in the thick of that fight, it just made a lot of sense. You know, you have the Dragon Strike, you have the Self-Destruct, you throw the Dragon Strike through the middle, and you put over the top a Self-Destruct. So if they try to get away from the Dragon Strike, the only way for them to avoid the Self-Destruct is for them to get off the point. So, best case, they're able to sustain for a few seconds, they lose the point. Worst case, they all die and they lose the point. So, I mean, it works out very well in their favor in that sense. So good stuff from Snakes to be able to line that up and have that work out for themselves. Now CIS Hope looking to attack. What do you expect here? It looks as though we're going to be getting possibly a 2-1-3. We'll have to see what Unfix goes on to here. But I imagine that might be the case. Maybe Kenzie bringing out, like a Roadhog or something for their 4-0-2 that they sometimes run, the quad tank.
I'd expect to see the 4-0-2, considering what CIS Hope have done time and time again on Hanamura. But I do like Snakes making those adaptations, having a much better performance compared to the last time they were up against CIS Hope on Hanamura. They didn't even get to really get that second point. Got it this time around with 1 minute 35 seconds, and it's gonna be up to once more Kenzie and rather Nesh and Asking, pulling out those DPS duo and making sure they find that damage in order to push this quad tank lineup that we'll most likely see out of CIS Hope.
All right, just 15 seconds away from this attack starting up. CIS Hope against Snakes. They have to go the distance here. They have to get both points, or CIS Hope will lose out and Snakes will have won with one of the quicker best of fives that we've seen so far in the tournament. Now as we start things up, it's going to be the quad tank coming out. Kenzie has picked up the Roadhog.
And we'll just see how effective these spammy DPSers out of Snakes will be in terms of dealing with this tank-heavy setup. Already going in down below. We'll find Kodak in a lot of trouble. Zhao picking up that first blood and already looking disastrous for Snakes.
I mean, that must have felt exactly like Christmas to them, having Kodak fall out right in front of them, run him right over. I mean, that was like a lawnmower over some tall grass. Just walks right over it. Leaves a bunch of freshly mowed Zenyatta in their wake. Sharak gonna fall as well. They just don't have the ability to keep him up in this fight against all this pressure. They're still finding kills as Kodak is hanging on. Kave gonna keep the healing up. We see the Dragon Strike come through, but still Snakes cannot hang on here. And this will be a very fast take already for CIS Hope. They have 7 minutes towards this next objective.
And look at that, we might actually see something that CIS Hope runs on the second point defenses of those assault maps. Psycho on the Bastion to deal with this tank-heavy setup, and can't really blame him. However, it's still a triple DPS overall, so Snakes taking a page out of CIS Hope's book.
Riptire ready for Nesh. They need to find value with this. Hayako has moved over to the Bastion, however, which is very interesting. We have seen that, but it's mostly, I believe, Unfixed we've seen that on as well.
It will be those two support members
can't push now.
Yeah, especially with both of them in terms of that AoE healing going down. That's the biggest factor with this quad tank setup, right? Without those supports, you're not going to have the staying power. You're not going to be able to ball it out, and we'll look to have Unfixed build up that Graviton most importantly. But on the other side, having both support ultimates available for both Kodak and Cave, or rather Kave, we'll look to see them stay safe in this next team fight.
Well, CIS Hope have looked phenomenal on this map throughout this tournament. Can they continue that success here? They need to get a cap. Try to win this map out. Dash up on top, self-destruct comes out. Oh, that's a nice pin as well. Hayako to fall. They do wind up losing their diva in the process, and Asking is on the point. He's getting looked at though, so he will get taken down by the Zarya. Unfixed, ripping him apart. Kenzie gets some healing, comes back alive, and there actually is the Graviton to come in as well. CIS Hope looking poised to take this second objective with plenty of time left on the clock for themselves.
Just such an easy way through after they got those few picks and didn't even need to use the Graviton up until the very end. Looking good for CIS Hope, and as we'll have Snakes on the attacking sides, or rather swap back to the attacking side. I'm curious to see what CIS Hope will do with their defense. Is this, as we talked about before, going to be the time where they're going to pull something like a Mei out? We've seen it come into play on this map in particular versus Snakes. Or would you bet it's going to be something safer, something that we've seen from them today?
I would say 80 to 90%, it's going to be a safe 2-2-2 or 2-1-3 or 3-1-2 or something like that. Something safe. It looks like with Unfixed going over to the Hanzo, that's going to be the case. But I would say 80-90%, that's what it's going to be. Not looking at this, not trying to be swayed by the fact that it looks like it's already going to be, the 2-2-2 or something like that. I would say there's about a 10% chance, or there would have been a 10% chance that we would see some kind of surprise. And it wouldn't be, insane. We wouldn't see two ideas coming together in one or something like that. It would just be, a small thing like putting Zhao on Tracer, having Kenzie still go over to something like the Widow or something like that, having Unfixed on the Junkrat to deal with a more tank-heavy lineup. Or maybe they bring out Unfixed on Mei. But that's obviously not the case. They're defending instead with the 2-2-2. Kenzie on the Tracer though, but here comes a 3-tank lineup asking the solo DPS on the Widowmaker.
And this is something that Snakes have preferred most of the time. They never really commit to the 303. Generally gonna, at the very least, leave Last King on one of the sniper options or any of the other DPSs as they will go on to the point. Already getting close to that first thing, but it's gonna be Kenzie finding that kill, and with that first blood going through, with the contest coming into play, this is not gonna look too hot for Snakes. They need to push their advantage. They need to get that ultimate up and running, but it's not gonna happen as Unfixed and Kenzie clean things up.
This is the importance of preparation to a T. I mean, this is the definition of the importance of preparation, because as we see that pick from Kenzie onto the Tracer, some people might be wondering, why the Tracer? Why here? Maybe if Zhao brings it out, you have that triple DPS, but what happens, if they don't bring something out? Well, they did. Snakes is going to bring out that Widow. They knew it was coming, and Kenzie had the answer right away.
And we'll have that Pulse Bomb available, even Unfixed. Good to go with the Dragon Strike. With 30 seconds, that is not what you want. Snakes Cave already going out. Will not have that Lucio. Will pretty much make sure that CIS Hope are going to be looking poised to defend this one. Another pick unfixed on this Hanzo. Just recreating Asking's performance on that hero.
And over the top, playing out a window. We're going to be seeing Asking, though, take some pressure as he's going to try to take Kenzie on one-on-one. Kenzie already ahead in that department. He'll find the kill as well. Advantage for them, but they will lose Unfixed in the process. We see the pulse bomb come out. Decent positioning as it takes Christopher down very low. He's forced to hold his barrier up so they can't get aggressive with their Reinhardt. They're going to lose him over time, and now it's going to be Kenzie's opportunity to turn this fight. We've seen him do this in the past. Zhao is here as well. They lose Vayne, but they still have the Tracer. You would have to keep an eye on Kenzie here. Can he turn this fight around?
Will be Zhao looking to do that just so with the use of that Soul Destruct too. They're still alive. Never mind, Kenzie does go down in the end, so through overtime, we will have Snakes find their way through. They will get the kill in the end onto Zhao, but it was looking so close for CIS Hope to turn it around with the use of those three members in Kenzie, Zhao, and Main. Right, was not the case. And now as we move on to the second point, there's only 30 seconds left for Snakes, but the big thing for them is the fact they still have that Graviton and the Earth Shatter.
Well, Shark can just take his escape. I mean, he can just fortify his way, walk on out of there freely. So he's not going to get caught in that more than likely, but he might be able to put a barrier down for them anyways. Christopher getting drilled. There's the pulse bomb as well. Right to Kave, and he gets taken down as well. Kenzie, a man on fire.
And now Nesh needs to make this one. He will go down. Doesn't even get the opportunity to use that Graviton. And even though Asking finds the kill off of the pulse bomb, it's still going to be very tough. However, he's not out of it just yet. He gets the second one. Might look for third. Kodak still on to the point. Asking, fragging out, trying his best to make this one happen. But Kenzie coming back from spawn. It's going to be Shark going down. Kenzie, can he make it work? No. It's still not going to go through. Not a take a cheat for Snakes as they're trying their best to make this one go on. It will be that first stick. Unfixed coming back onto the main is going to stall this one out, but the Graviton is back.
Nash coming through in a big way, but here's once again more stalling coming out. They need to turn this fight here stick onto Shark, forcing him to try to keep his barrier up, but he's not even going to do that. He will die instantaneously. 2 ticks now on the board for Snakes, despite an insane performance by Kenzie. They will lose the second objective as well as Asking, finds a way to take it up a single notch above Kenzie's already stellar performance. And with what was about 2 minutes for themselves, after all things were said and done, given that extra 30 seconds, they are able to cap out twice. Now 5-17 for CIS Hope to do the same.
Everything you can do, I can do better seems to be the song here for Asking. He hasn't played too much of that Tracer, right? He usually plays one of the snipers for this team.
Yep.
But to be able to pick that one up, come through in such a big way to secure that second point and take us to that fourth one for his team, it's just absolutely insane.
Coming into this tournament, people maybe not knowing who you are, people asking about Asking. Certainly people will be asking for you in the future because this team is popping off behind him throughout this entire tournament. He has been receiving the spotlight over and over and over again, whether it be on one of those snipers or now even the Tracer, even when he plays a tank. He's always having a good performance. So now, taking on CIS Hope in the loser bracket finals, moving on possibly, if they can defend here, to the grand finals, he'll still have more opportunities to come. If you're looking for a clip, just go back a minute.
I'm sure there's even more coming our way as there's still 5 minutes and 10 seconds for CIS Hope, so not to take anything away from them as they will go back towards that quad tank composition, looking to have the same amount of success as last time, pushing their way through already, forcing Dash into a tough spot. You will go down, and this has been such a tough time for Snakes to deal with this composition. Now already at a 2-man disadvantage. CIS Hope, they should definitely have this first point.
That classic Slambulance just running at you. Full speed ahead, holding W, shifting gears into the fastest one that they have available as they run right through Snakes. Now they're going to have to set up and try to defend for about 5 minutes now. They have to hold out for, and it's going to be very difficult for them as with this composition, this 3-0-3 brawl comp. Yes, they can take fights. Yes, they can extend them quite long, or for quite a long time, but they don't have ultimates to be able to turn the fight, not just yet.
And not only that, Kenzie is gonna just be left to his own devices as he already finds one pick onto Asking Coalescence, making sure the rest of his team of CIS Hope stays alive. Only Nesh left onto the point. Transcendence come in, but a little too late. Kodak is gonna potentially start with this one out, but that's all they were gonna get off of it. Oh, Christopher comes in with the Earth Shatter, but again, no follow-up as Kenzie is left to get kill after kill. Gets a double on Fix with another, and this is going to be 2 ticks on the board for CIS Hope. Soon to be the third, and they're going to be looking really good into their next attack.
And no one can ever deal with Kenzie up here. Yeah, they have, you know, Unfixed trying to throw some damage out to him, but it's just not going to last. I mean, they're not going to be able to find that kill more than likely, and still, this Widow in the back line has been unanswered while everybody else on the point just gets knocked about. They get ripped apart. 354. CIS Hope well on their way to being able to take a map and move us into Dorado.
And while I don't want to, you know, have any bias here in this particular matchup, I really hope they take it just so we can see more of this amazing action, as it's been an explosive one on Hanamura, some heroic plays for sure. But now as we move on to, of course, another attack for CIS Hope, it's going to be such a daunting task for Snakes to really make the hold happen, because it's only 33% right here. It's
absolutely. I mean, especially given the fact that every single time that they've gone up against this Slambulance from CIS Hope, they have just been knocked over. I mean, we're talking about getting slammed into the locker, shoved in, closed, locked, left there all day, lunch money stolen, full-on bully tactics from CIS Hope on point A, and Snakes looking to try to find some way to not get knocked into that locker, not this time. I mean, 354 is the time bank here that CIS Hope to have to work with, and they've been able to do it both times in about a minute or less.
It's gonna be a scary one, but at the very least for Snakes, if you look back at their last Numbani in the last series, they did manage to hold onto that first point for more than 3 minutes for that one tick. So we know they're capable, at the very least, to potentially make it happen, but again, no answers as of yet for that Slambulance.
I imagine CIS Hope is going to be doing something similar here, you know, still going with the 4-0-2, but it's possible they might instead go for a 3-1-2, instead take Kenzie off of the Roadhog and instead onto, you know, some version of a sniper. We see him at the moment on a Hanzo. That could be the case. He might even be on a Widow. They might even bring him out onto a Tracer just to put some pressure onto the backline, make sure that they're solidifying kills and still proving to be lethal in some of these fights. But now we're only 6 seconds away. Snakes set up a little bit differently on the low ground this time. I expect them to fall back, more than likely, over to where we see the Hanzo coming down from, and then rotating into the point from the side. However, I mean, CIS Hope could walk right over them even still, and then now we do see actually the 4-0-2 once again coming out, the quad tank Kenzie on that Roadhog.
And the scary thing for Snakes is the fact that even if they make this one work with Nesh on that Pharah, potentially finding the damage, they could still have so much time and set up Kenzie on that Widowmaker instead to deal with him. But already it is going to be a 1-for-1. We'll see the rest of Snakes pushed off at the point potentially, and this could very well be over, especially with the Coalescence coming through. Nobody makes it in time, and CIS Hope keeps the dream alive.
They lost their tanks so quickly there, and then at that point, I mean, we've seen that before as well. You know, you lose your tanks against a quad tank, there's nothing that you can throw on that point that's going to be able to sustain long enough for your tanks to rotate back in. There's just simply nothing. So as soon as Christopher went down, as soon as Heiko lost as well, CIS Hope, it was just a matter of time before they were able to either push off the rest of Snakes or they were able to just find the kills. So CIS Hope, though, taking that map, proving to be once again flawless on Hanamura, and now we will see them go over to Dorado, and maybe Snakes can close the match out there, or CIS Hope could take us to a game number 5.
I mean, last time around, it was actually Snakes picking up the win on that particular map. We'll see what will happen after these commercials. Still match point for Snakes, looking to be stronger than the Bear right now. We'll be going up on Dorado, and this is one of these maps, or type of maps, where you can see a lot of different views, especially from CIS Hope. Last time around, they ran a lot of the 2-2-2, as well as the 2-1-3. And we talked a little bit about it before we actually went live, but what is your take on it?
Well, I expect a 2-2-2. I think Kenzie is going to be likely onto a Widow or possibly a Tracer, just depending on which part of the map that we're going to be going into. And then we'll be seeing Unfixed on some kind of projectile, I have to imagine. We're talking about Pharah, we're talking about Hanzo, we're talking about Junkrat. Maybe they bring out a Brigitte at some point in the map if they feel like they really need that support to their tanks. But otherwise, I would expect the projectile, a straight up 2-2-2 for CIS Hope here.
And to be fair, we've also seen some other things, such as the Protect the President comps with the Bastion come through. Haven't had too much success. Whoever ran it, this was never really a success, no matter which team it was, but could come out for that first objective. It's going to come down to who can really buy much more time in the grand scheme of things, because last time around this matchup, none of these teams finished that third point.
Yeah, I mean, they really kind of struggled, especially towards that second stage of the map where, those Widows start popping off and all of a sudden, you can't make pushes, you can't make dives, you can't even, go in defensively. You have to hold out, allow for some extra pushing. So it becomes very difficult for both of these teams. As we know, both of them have very capable Widows. I mean, we're talking about Nesh and Asking, both very strong. Kenzie, incredibly strong as well. And here it is. It's going to be Kenzie, as I mentioned. He's going to be onto the Widow or Tracer, this time the Widow. Unfixed likely on a projectile, and there it is on the Pharah.
And Christopher, unsurprisingly, for the most part, on that Orisa, he has been probably the one to favor this particular hero the most throughout all of the different teams on the EU side. Unfixed already able to dish out a decent amount of pressure, but with Nesh still lurking on the side, looking for those angles. It's gonna make things very difficult for him in that back line, but this is the type of positioning we want to see out of CIS Hope. Just make sure you hold him off, especially underneath that archway.
All right, here we go. Nesh and a duel in the back line. Kenzie taking him on. Has some support from the Harmony, so he has to try to find a headshot. Not gonna find it though. Main will assist in that fight, take him down. Now at the front line though, Chow worked his way in off of a flank on the Zarya, putting out some damage. They back him out. A minute off the clock now for Snakes, and CIS Hope have Chow at 65%. They did lose Kenzie, but he should be res back up, and there it is.
And with the res being available, this should be all CIS Hope needs in order to make sure they stabilize. Main did drop pretty low. He does have their ascended, so he needs to make sure he stays alive, especially since the Resurrect cannot come through for a couple more seconds. The hook will connect, but it won't secure a kill. And it's still Snakes struggling to find the space they need in order to make that first point cap happen.
All right, Asking coming around the Dragon Strike. Oh, as everybody gets laid flat there. Sharik with an Earth Shatter, putting pressure now once again onto Christopher. They still have that Graviton Surge should they need it for this next fight, and they have tons of things to put into it as well. They have Unfixed with the Barrage most notably, but if they can even wear down Christopher, push that barrier out of play a little bit early, then even Kenzie can start getting involved in that Graviton. He can start taking shots through that Graviton Surge himself. Ooh!
Oh, as he finds Nesh. And we'll see how he can make this up over to the Diva after Christopher did go over to make a swap himself onto the Winston. Will be still so many ultimates banked up for CIS looking to push another team fight to win. The infra side does come out of Kenzie. We'll spot out the opposition and we'll just make things that much more difficult for Nesh. And the Graviton does come through. Transcendent spot, but the Rocket Barrage is there. Denied somewhat by that Matrix. And now with Asking, retaliating back will be the Dragon Strike. Nesh finding the kill onto Sharik. And now it will be the man advantage in favor of Snakes.
Heiko and Asking might have saved the day for them this time as they answer back in a big way. Now pushing the payload through the market stage here. They have just about a minute. They should be able to make this. I mean, with Nesh up top here, I don't know if they're going to have Kenzie able to take him out. And there's no way that they're going to get everybody in here before that capture comes through. So now it will be capped out. Snakes with their first point on the board here on Dorado. Looking to re-engage is going to be CIS Hope coming back forward. Ooh, a nice little engage onto the top, onto the high ground as Kave does fall for it.
Xiao finding the kill of all the targets there. Nesh does find Kenzie once more, and now that we will have most of the members backed off for Snake, CIS Hope will have control for the most part. Heiko even losing his suit. He's not going to be able to do too much, but with that Buddy Blaster, will push the likes of Unfixed and away off of that high ground.
Oh, Asking gets thrown onto the ground. There's the charge. Sharik punishing the Hanzo. Doesn't want to deal with this anymore. He's had enough of it. He's fed up. Main falls in the background. Unfixed getting batted around by the Winston. And once again, despite losing Asking, they bring him back up into the fight, and everybody else around him rallies. Snakes surging forward yet again.
I mean, I know he's a huge threat, but the Air Shatter to come through, perhaps just using it because he wanted to make the swap anyway over to the Winston. Now on that particular hero, we'll still have the Dragon Surge combo available for CIS Hope, so looking to at the very least re-engage and make sure they do stop Snakes right before that second point, as we will see them be quite close to it.
Xiao holding onto that Graviton. He's gonna throw it right on top of the self-destruct. Nobody inside of it. They still throw the Dragon Strike through it. There's Asking's version instead. Nothing being acquired for either team, still being contested both ways. We'll have to see which one of these widows goes down first. It's gonna be Nesh.
Unfixed finding the kill, and now we'll look to push the rest of Snakes away, as we'll see Sharik dropping pretty low. Does take out Asking in the meantime. Even Kave somehow managing to stay alive, barely in the thick of things. Did not go for the resurrect. Instead, it's gonna be Kodak finding another kill onto Unfixed, and now as we will have Sharik back up, it will look to contest Nesh, but might be in a tough spot.
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna be able to stay here much longer. Jumping away from the Diva, still gonna die off. And they're gonna be without their Winston now. Asking coming back forward. It's still contested. They have about a minute, as we do see the Graviton coming down again. Xiao throwing that out. We will see the Winston bubble protect them, keeps them alive, but it buys time for everybody else to come back from respawn. Maybe they can get back onto the point, but that's not... Oh, they actually do!
It's actually going to be in, making it back, and now with Sharik back in the front line too. We'll see whether or not they can hold on, as Nesh in the meantime does find Unfixed, looks for those targets, still uncontested on the Widowmaker up high. Means that he will pop that infrared side, spot out the opposition. Christopher going good with the primary. Dragon Strike popped up by Unfixed. We'll look to push everyone away from that payload. Only 25 seconds left. Kodak now with the Transcendent Dragon Strike from Asking is not going to be effective either.
And this is so insane too, because look, there's not even any indication to how far away the payload even is. Oh, we finally get one as it starts pushing back. But I mean, we're looking at something like less than 1/10 of a meter that they were away from being able to cap that. Now they might be able to get it here as they're solidifying this fight, and they will look to capture this in overtime. Instead, they finally do get it, but that was so close. CIS Hope finding some way to contest it. But like I said, I mean, less than 1/10 of a meter, if I'm not mistaken.
But this is the phase where we've seen a bunch of teams struggle with, as even when it came down to it with Snakes, they haven't really managed to find too much success towards this third point, but already positioning themselves very aggressively will look to have a better time. Looking for those picks will be averted by the likes of Zhao and Shark jumping in, as we'll have Asking forced to disengage for now.
Christopher having to disengage as well, looking for that reset as Kenzie is on the Tracer. Already mentioned how this could be one of his swaps, so he makes it. Now gonna look to try to put some pressure down, but Nesh completely removes him from this fight. Oh, and Xiao coming through, eating up that Dragon Strike.
And that might be enough, but we'll see whether or not that will be the case, as already we'll have Kodak claim another kill. Heiko finds Unfix, who didn't quite pull the trigger. He still has a Dragon Strike coming back from spawn, and considering the distance we still have, or rather Snake still has to go through with, it might just be the thing to turn it all around in favor of CIS Hope.
As we mentioned, neither of these teams in their last bout were able to complete the map here on Dorado. Perhaps Snakes can get it done here. They've lost their Mercy, though, to the Dragon Strike. Coming back in, Heiko trying to keep the dream alive. Shark comes back up with the res from in. Self-destruct coming down, not going to find anything, and it's cleanup time for CIS Hope. They have the advantage with the respawn. Can they get everybody killed off? Heiko staying alive, but is going to lose his mech. Christopher is already gone, so now no tanks left on the board. CIS Hope could very well make the stop here, and that will indeed be the case. Overtime will tick, and Snakes just barely unable to finish it yet again.
But still, that is so much distance covered for them. We mentioned the fact that CIS Hope in their last matchup on Dorado really struggled. They only got 1 point on the board, and now looking to their attack, I'm just really impressed by how Snakes have performed compared to their blunder, if you will, from yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have bounced back in a big way, and this is exactly what we saw from CIS Hope too. I mean, after they lost to Snakes, they bounced back completely, looked like an entirely different team, and all of a sudden now they're once again struggling against an even tougher version of Snakes, in my opinion, at least. I mean, yes, the first time that we saw them, I think Christopher and Heiko were, you know, definitely some all-stars for sure. Their tank line was performing exceptionally well. Asking and Nesh, yes, they did have good performances, but I think they're stepping up even more today. I mean, Asking throughout this tournament, I feel like has gotten progressively better. I mean, increasingly more talented, increasingly, you know, more comfortable in his role, especially with these sniper picks. I feel like he just really finds a way to, you know, have a massive amount of impact every single time he comes out for this team.
And I think that is the key word here for him, impact. If I had to vote for the most impactful player of the tournament so far, it's probably gonna be Asking.
I have to agree. I mean, I have to agree. Yes, I would probably, you know, if I'm talking about looking at some other options, I would say maybe Heiko, and I would say maybe Nico. And it would be one of those three, although if I put out my pick, I would say Asking as well. I mean, time and time again, he has, you know, clutched some things out for them. We've seen similar stuff from Kenzie, but it's just been, I don't know, it's been insane to see Asking come out after not really knowing his name, you know, much at all. We kind of expect things like that from Kenzie, which is weird to say, but it's the truth.
And now we'll have a 2-1 free comp for CIS Hope against that double sniper for defense. However, so far, Nesh and Asking haven't quite been able to find those angles, quite been able to find the damage in. Instead, it was Kenzie who was able to dish out quite a bit through those Storm Arrows, looking to build up towards that Dragon Strike, already towards that archway, and without a Reinhardt in the mix for the defense here, it's not gonna be too easy for them to keep that front line up and running.
All right, the 2-1-3 attack. Chow, not very high on this Graviton, but they're gonna go forward anyways. Shark, ooh, gonna be taken down very quickly, but not out just yet. Forced to keep that barrier up. It's not gonna last for too long. As Shark does go down, Heiko will lose his mech, but quickly CIS Hope, without the help of that barrier from the Reinhardt, they won't be able to stay here much longer, especially now as they lose the Brigitte. They're gonna stick around just to see if they can find some picks, but over time, I think that they're gonna be forced to pull back here.
And not only just picks, also looking to build up Zhao's Graviton. considering the fact that he is already at 83%. Kenzie even matching him up with the Dragon Strike soon enough will look to be the thing to make sure they acquire that first point for themselves, as Kenzie will be able to contest Heiko on that high ground. Will go for the regroup instead, as he will have that Dragon Strike at the ready.
And he's been so good about placement with that particular skill, with that ability. He's going to be just launching it right away. He throws it right out, right onto the point. Transcendence is already out, though, for main. They throw on the Graviton. Transcendence out this time for Kodak. They're still finding kills inside of it, and there is the Earthshatter as well. He's going to die for it, though, in the process. Nobody is pushing the point because they're trying to win the fight out first, and still, Snakes having Asking on the point here, untouched, uncontested on the Hanzo. He could potentially clean them up.
Supercharger is at the ready too. Christopher does pop that one out. It's going to be Nesh finding the double kill, though. And even though he will go down, we will see Snakes holding out strong onto this first objective. 1 minute and 38 seconds left on the clock. And the big problem for CIS Hope is the fact that they are already down to maps. And they only have, at this very moment in time, Kenzie's ultimate at the ready. They committed a lot, didn't get too much for it, or not enough.
No combo for Zhao. I mean, he's not going to be able to throw that Graviton out for the Dragon Strike. That Kenzie really does want. Oh, I think, did it get eaten up? I'm not even sure.
I think it did.
It did indeed. So once again, we see Heiko stepping up and eating yet another very pivotal, potentially pivotal ultimate.
But we did see Sharik being a big player here for CIS Hope as he picks up a double kill off of that second charge. Unfix finds another onto Asking, who did get brought back up with the use of that Resurrect, and now as the member advantage should be in favor of CIS Hope. They should get that first point, but Kodak and Co still contesting. Graviton is there, will be committed just to make sure they do get it in the end. With 40 seconds left on the clock, only Nesh will be there to contest, but shouldn't be up for long.
Still, though, this has been such a solid defense. They took so much time away. CIS Hope now only have 3 minutes as Snake. They're going to keep what looks like this double sniper. They are going indeed to keep that. Christopher is still on that Winston, so they now have the ability to contest high ground if Kenzie does try to set up on that backside, which is what I imagine to be the case. And Heiko, look, he's just lying in wait. He knows Kenzie's rotations. He knows where Kenzie wants to go, and he's just going to be sitting there waiting for it. He's going to get spotted, though, so Kenzie going to say that he doesn't want to go ahead and opt into that particular position. So unlucky for Heiko.
Then we still see Nesh look to spot him out. Self-destruct will be launched. Finds 2 on both of the supports coming out of CIS Hope, and Heiko now being a key player for Snakes as Kodak finds a double kill himself. Make that a triple, as it will be the reset anyway for CIS Hope. They want to make sure they regroup as soon as possible because it's going to be so much time wasted for them.
Heiko setting up top was like, okay, you don't want to give me the Widow pick? That's fine, that's fine. I'll just go through. I'll throw this right up in the air. I'll take both of your supports out, and that will cancel the fight out as well. So I'll take that trade. Anyways, Asking up top here as well. He does have the Dragon Strike once again. He's just going to unleash it right away. This time not going to be eaten by Chao. He just pushes them off the point, allows his team to get into position and start contesting. Christopher dives right in on top of Kenzie, but doesn't even need to be there as Asking can do it alone.
And with 2 members off the board for CIS Hope, while they will continue to try to make a push happen, they're just going to die one by one. Still Asking and Nesh getting the kills. Heiko coming into the mix, but CIS Hope struggling to find hope for the second point right now. And it's gonna be that full-on dive potentially outside of Kenzie, who's still on that Hanzo.
Unfixed, making a swap. I mean, this is a potentially massive change for them because they are going to be able to contest Nesh a lot better this time, which should give space to Kenzie here. But they're playing it a little safe. I mean, they haven't really committed to a full dive. We've just seen soft ones so far as they just knocked them up off of the high ground, forcing Asking back down. And now they can actually just kind of cluster them up. And that's what they're working on right now.
Self-destruct was used by Zhao, does not find any targets, and now that we will have Kodak pop that Transcendence, gonna keep the rest of his team safe. Nothing to answer on the other side, and with it, it's going to be Christopher finding that double kill, pushing their opponents away, and with 27 seconds left, CIS Hope might go out.
We will as well see one more opportunity. I mean, can they close this one out? Snakes with the double sniper. have been able to do so much. CIS Hope 65% towards a Blade though, and they might have enough time to set themselves up with a play to allow for Unfixed to get that last 30% and then maybe pull a Blade out that could save them, but he gets taken out immediately. The double sniper from Snakes, making a name for themselves once again.
Overtime coming through. Self-destruct is gonna push them away as Heiko picks up another double kill. Asking, cleaning things up with the Dragon Strike. Does go down. It will not matter. Snakes will be winning this one out, advancing to the grand finals.
The same exact scoreline for Dorado that we saw in their last matchup against each other in round 1, day 1 of our tournament. It's exactly the same way that we end it for them. CIS Hope is out, and it's gonna be Snakes with another rematch, a second rematch of the day for them, as they will take on Eagle Gaming in the grand finals.
They most definitely will look up for that.